All right, so we'll get started here, and if anyone else rolls in, that's fine. I just wanted to really try to get through a lot of the logistics tonight for and try to answer any of the questions that people had as we go through here. So first thing, wanted to introduce our assistant coach, Jim McNally. Jim's a teacher here too. I don't know if you want to talk for a few minutes.
Not much. I've taught here. This is my 22nd year. I teach, we were just talking shop for a few minutes. I teach AP chemistry. So I don't know if I'll have any of your kids in class this year. And I teach one section of academic chemistry. I used to coach a long time ago. A couple other sports, never golf. I was doing stuff with my daughter. She's going away to college this year, so I thought, maybe it's a good time to get back into it. So start with girls golf.
Yeah.
Something a little low key.
Oh, I know, right? They're trying to rope me back into baseball tonight. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet.
5 a.m. sessions.
Yeah, it's 5 a.m. at January, whenever we come back.
Yeah.
That's maybe a little too much. We'll see.
But so it's kind of nice that neither one of us has any preconceived notions coming in, and it allows us maybe to get some fresh eyes and hopefully kind of go through the lumps together and go from there. I wanted to start here with boosters and fundraising. Last time we talked, previous years, it was just people found it easier just to write a check and then use that money for some different things for the girls, and we're totally fine with that if that's how we want to do it again this year. We can even kind of talk tonight and see like what we think is appropriate, and then bring that to the rest of the parents as well to kind of clear it with everybody before moving forward. I think I recall Becky McNamara saying last year it was like $200, $250. Did I make that up?
I don't think it was that.
Because it wasn't that much?
Like
Okay.
150.
Okay, so maybe 150.
Coach Slim doesn't have any kids yet that are in the ages. You guys don't know this, and I've gone through it. It's so much easier to just write the check. But whatever you guys want to do. But I remember my wife and I were like, just
Write a check. I think we're all agreeing on that one.
So I used to teach middle school, and we started an 8th grade trip overnight to DC for our 8th graders. And we started with fundraising from 6th grade, and to keep track of all of that over the course of 3 years moving forward was an absolute nightmare. So if that's how we want to go, that's totally fine by me. But my thinking in terms of how we would use the money this year in particular, I think it's nice, we don't really want the girls wearing their uniform shirts to school. So to have something that's PR golf related that they can wear on match days, I think is a nice thing to kind of create that unity. So I set up an online shop through the group that I'm using that will also give us some money coming back to us as well as kind of a fundraiser, and give us the opportunity to purchase things, Adidas branding for the most part. So I'm thinking like a long sleeve and a short sleeve shirt would be great if we could use that money and provide that for the girls. I have 8 dozen logo balls for matches just with PR Girls Golf on there. So each girl kind of gets 6 to use at their discretion. If you don't want them, that's fine. If you're like really particular about what balls you use, going to be 35 and I'm still using balls that I find in the woods. So I don't know that it really matters all that much, but if we wanted to purchase additional ones, I can get them at a lower rate and have them, if we want to do that with the money, we can. Group lesson opportunities. I believe I will have some money in the budget left over that I can use to provide those as well. But I think that that's something, because we have girls at such different levels, that would be really nice if we're at the range, maybe this time it's this group of 3 to 4 where they're getting a little bit closer instruction, and so I think that money can go towards that. If we want to run some in-season contests, I'm a competitive person. I like to create competition in a positive way, hopefully. I found with female athletes that if it's a communal thing, like we're all working towards this particular goal, not necessarily one versus another, that tends to work pretty well. And so if we can try and motivate them in some way, that'd be great. Senior gifts, end of year banquet and party, like I'm totally open. I've done different things here with like the full formal banquet and that kind of stuff. I've also done coached elsewhere, and we did like a barbecue with like lawn games and stuff like that if we want to go that route. Obviously it's a little bit colder by the end of fall sports, but totally open to how we want to do it. Future projects, if we want to take like X amount of dollars from that money and put it into a fund with an eye towards something bigger that can be used as the program that kind of grows along the way, I think that's a great idea. I spoke with Sean Simmons, our athletic director, and we started to kind of map out years, funding, what that might look like. Would the district be willing to kick in some money to help us out too? Talked about a simulator, which I think is really a great option because it gives you someplace indoors that you can use throughout the winter time, and it's something that we can control as a district, so we wouldn't have outside entities coming in and be looking at using it. Problem is, of course, space. The golf bags are in the room across the hall, and Becky McNamara had the uniforms in her garage for 4 months or whatever. So that's a piece of it. We also kicked around the idea of like a large putting chipping area. Obviously, that's a little bit tougher to control in terms of who has access to it and upkeep and that kind of thing. But that would be great as well if we're really going to try and drive the building of the program to have something on campus that players can use at their discretion. And I mentioned before, I've been talking with Mr. Seibert, the coach of the boys team, Mr. Duggar as well. Maybe we do something where we do half and half and give it access. And so that really, we want to grow the game. And having something on campus is a great way for us to try to do that. So I think that's a possibility too. I don't know, any thoughts that you all had regarding any of the uses for whatever it is we decided to kick in? Any issues with any of these?
I think they're all great ideas.
Yeah, you give us a number, we'll get you the money.
Okay.
So done.
There's enough space out on the fields too. that you
Yeah,
can
and
put
that's,
a-
I kind of said like,
Some sort of like a shed building,
Right.
big enough that, you know.
and you really don't need a ton. My cousin is a big time golfer, and he used half of his garage basically and put one in there. And you can go as high as like 10 grand, or you can get a decent one for like 4 to 5 and put it in there. So kind of, we do have options, I think, as long as we were to get approval. That's obviously something that I don't know that we could get for next year. It might be something down the road, so keep that in mind too. But I think it's a possibility. So anything? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No.
If you put your desk a little closer together, you
Right, yeah, just put it in the back room.
Need all this
Those are great- those are great
prep time,
ideas.
first period prep, where's Mr. Slim at? He's in his room getting work done. Anything that's missing from here that you can think of that you've done previously that you really thought the girls benefited from? Or anything else, any other ideas that you had? More than welcome to take them.
Last year, we just sat with a list like that
Okay.
and decided how much we were gonna spend on each thing. Tallied it up, and that was, I think we built a little cushion in, and that was it.
Okay,
And
yeah,
the cushion was good because we then realized that we had like 8 hats to use. for
Okay.
Advisors,
Sure.
and one advisor, so we
Yeah.
got new ones.
okay.
That was it.
So let me talk about this, but then I want to come back to uniforms in case I forgot to put it on here. So that another piece of this is I did want to have something to kind of kick things off. So I reserved us the special room that they have at Top Golf in Bridgeville. It would be $35 a person from 12 to 2 this Saturday coming up. Includes unlimited food, etc., and unlimited play for the girls. If we want to think about parents too, they told me just call them and say like how many parents you think would want to come and that kind of thing. We can look into that as well. It sounded like the amount of interest that I got back from the girls was positive. It sounded like only maybe 2 to 3 would be unable to attend this Saturday. If we don't think this is going to work for the majority of the team, then we nix it and we find something else somewhere along the way, and I'm totally cool with that too. Any thoughts on this idea? Are there any issues with the timing, with it being on Saturday? Anyone knows off the top of their head?
I think it's a great idea. I've been there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
others have
Yeah.
as well. It's a
Sounds
great way
fun.
for team building. and
It's a
stuff.
lot of fun, and it's golf without it feeling like golf, and
Yeah, yeah.
So you said we're already reserved for Saturday?
we're already reserved. Yeah, I didn't have to put a deposit down to reserve it. So they said, help host your meeting tonight. I called like 2 weeks ago, host your meeting tonight, let us know tomorrow, and then we can go from there. So I'll send out a remind tonight to kind of finalize numbers so that I can get in contact with them tomorrow. So if that's another thing, like if we wanted, in my head, I'll kind of cover it for now, but if we wanted to use funds for that that would be something that we could kick into. If
Okay.
you didn't want to just pay the $35 up front, we wanted to think of it as more of a team expense, that's fine too. All right, so actually I guess I should do uniforms here. So based on our numbers, we're gonna have about 14. There's still like 1, maybe 2 on the fence, but that gives us really a true varsity and JV team. The uniforms, I went through them all. There was no way for me to try and stretch the uniforms to have them be uniform. And that's kind of a big deal for me. Mr. McNally knows I tend to be a flashy dresser in a lot of ways. And hi.
Sorry, I needed a personal.
Oh, not a problem.
I'm Kathy.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
So I had to order all new uniforms. So before we left, I had the girls list their sizes for me, and then I was able to contact a couple who weren't there at that time to order the sizes that they want. They're all in women's cut. There's a green and a white polo that are going to come with it, and then have the embroidery, and those should be in. The turnaround from the site that I use seems pretty quick, like maybe 4 to 5 days to process, which is kind of nice. So we're looking at some point next week to have them in, hopefully. Hats and visors. So I mean, I like the uniform look, but I really don't care which way that you're comfortable with. I don't know. I'm not a visor guy, I'm a hat guy. You don't even wear a hat, do you?
No.
So like, for me, as long as the WIPIAL does have actual specifications now, it has to be team logoed or team colors. It cannot have a non-team team on there. So I couldn't wear like a Penn State golf hat while golfing. And if it has a brand on there, the brand, there's actual inches, like it's like 2.5 inches by 1.25 inches, that the logo can't be more than that. I really can't see anybody being too much of a stickler unless we were to look like somewhere down the line at sectionals or something. But if you have any questions, I think I have one of the black visors from last year left over, and I have 2 white hats from the year before that left over as well. So for anyone who does not have one that they like, I have those, or I can use that same site, and again, the turnaround is pretty quick. So talk to your girls and see like if they like what they have, if you think that they would want something, and I can order that and start to put those requisitions in. Mr. Simmons is out this week, so that might be another week or so before we could get that turned around. But talk to them and see if they're comfortable with what they have, and if not, we'll figure something out. Because ultimately, we need to provide uniforms for our kids. That's on us. So we'll take care of that and figure that out. All right. Logistics for the first week. I had a couple people ask me about ride sharing. So what I will, yes.
Just one clarification.
Sure.
You say first week, what do you consider?
Next week. So next week is technically the start of the season. That's the week of the 12th. If you look at the calendar, first day is going to be at the range around 3. Well, by 3, I should say. Then the 13th, 14th, and 15th will all be at Conley's. I am asking for kids, our tea time start at 3, but I am going to ask for kids to be there a little bit early so that we can talk about some things. And there are some students who need help with etiquette even, and kind of that whole thing. So I want to go over that. So by like 2:30 would be great. But I did have some parents say it's going to be a real struggle for me. My child's not old enough to drive. What can we do? So if you are able to provide a ride or something like that, or if you have a student who's an experienced student driver, let me know, please, if you would feel okay with that, so that I can then BCC all of the parents and say, here are some options. Please contact them if that's okay. Make sure anyone who wants to play but maybe can't get there at that time can. Questions about that in terms of this first few days? Yeah.
I might have mentioned to you at the range, we are gone. all
Yes.
next week.
Yes. So what we'll do is take the first 2, 19th and then the 21st against Shadyside. Those are scrimmages technically. So we'll take 9-hole scores from there and apply that, knowing that that might shift how we look at golf lineups for once section play starts on that Thursday.
Yeah, with respect, I was going to wait.
Sure.
But no, My daughter's she's gonna be out 2 weeks. She won't be back until the 24th.
Okay. With that, if you wouldn't mind, just send me an email as a reminder so I know who to look for and to kind of look for attendance that way. Really, again, this is first year. We're still trying to kind of feel everything out, and if there are issues, then we'll work around them.
Do you prefer we communicate through Renite, or do you have?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, my email's connected to my phone, and I'm a little obsessive, so I'm on that constantly. So first week, all are going to begin at 3. Please arrive early to Conley. Make sure we can get loose and get set up and see what our groupings look like. Tuesday, it's going to be practice and also looking at putting data, which will be used in terms of determining teams. I'll get to the teams in just a minute here. They are somewhat fluid in terms of like, oh no, you're JV and that's it, you stay there. Friday, tiebreakers. This is highly unnecessary. This is like, highly unlikely. This is like maybe 2, we just can't decide and we need another data point to help us to figure out the delineation between players. But more than likely, I know I said after school, but I'm a moron. So more than likely it would be like maybe around noon or afterwards. We just want to meet with the kids and talk to them about what we see, where we see them moving forward. I've found both as a teacher and a coach, if you're clear in terms of your communication with the kids, you're much less likely to have hurt feelings down the road or a misunderstanding. And so, not that I want to crush a kid's dream, but like for example, the WPIAL rules ask even for a JV match that if you're playing, you're able to break 60 over the course of 9 holes. So if a kid is going to really struggle to get there, I'm not going to go out there and say, yeah, you're definitely going to play a match. I want to be completely honest with your kids. I don't want there to be miscommunication or misunderstanding down the road. And so I hope that's okay with all of you, but I've found that through my experience, that's really the best way to approach situations like this. We're not cutting. We want to have 2 full teams, and if there's somebody who is going to struggle to break 80 over 9 holes and knows that you might not play in an actual match, but you want to come out and get better, please, we're more than welcome. We would love to have you. So ultimately, again, it's about growing the game. So, any questions about that first week? That's next week, starting on the 12th. Okay. Just in general, we want to try and avoid Fridays if at all possible. Unfortunately, we did have 2 matches that there was just that are section matches that we have to play that we couldn't fit in, that ended up getting bumped and moved there. I think that is
North Allegheny, I think.
North Allegheny. That's on the 30th of August. And then the Peters Township one. Now, Friday the 13th of September, it's a very auspicious day. We play at Mars, which is at Ritzwood, which is on Route 8, on the 16th. And so one of the things that the girls said as I was holding kind of the preseason meetings is they wanted to vary where they were playing. So I was able to get us a block of tee times on the 13th, that Friday at Ritzwood. So it might not be all of the girls. It might not. I understand if people can't make it because I did say really Monday through Thursday is our season. But I did want to give the opportunity for us to play that course before then going and playing that course. Same thing goes on the 24th. We play at Pittsburgh North the next day. So I'm going to try and get us a block of tee times on the 24th at Pittsburgh North so that we can try and check that course out as well. The good news is they're both close by. So like shuttling and busing is not really going to be an issue, hopefully. Tryouts in general, again, team construction is pretty tentative right now. It depends on what we see. If we see like a clear delineation between 6 and 7 or 7 and 7, then we'll make our best guess. And again, those are somewhat fluid. Practices, if there's not a match scheduled that day for one of the 2 teams, we're going to practice as one team. We are one team. We are all in this together, and we're all going to try and get better at the same rate. Teams and roles can be fluid. Again, we are one team. What's going to determine based on tryouts? I like putting pressure on kids in positive environments, but I know how nerve-wracking something like a tryout can be. So we're going to use the 2 tryout total scores, then best score on 9 holes, so to see like kind of what is our ceiling if possible. Putting statistics that we'll use, especially the short putts especially, and then maybe the tiebreaker of 9 holes. But then we also have a coaching rubric that we will use to assess the kids at the range sessions, and based on what we see around the course as well, that we'll use to try and create some quantitative data to accompany what we see with our own eyes. Okay. General logistics, practice days, everybody together, match days. This is, Mr. McNally and I were talking as we came in. There are no JV matches scheduled yet. There are at least 4 other teams that expect to have and field a JV team, but because of the way that golf courses and tee times work, without knowing who had a JV team 3 months ago, they weren't able to schedule anything. Mr. Simmons is out this week, but once he comes back, he's going to be working with the other ADs to try and schedule those JV matches, preferably opposite of varsity matches. So if we're playing home against NA, the JV team would be, the varsity team, the JV team would be playing at NA. Does that make sense? And that, it gives us a little bit more ability to constantly teach, as opposed to sitting around or not practicing that day or something like that. So it gives us a little bit more of that kind of oomph that we want to see from our kids. Again, no schedule yet, we got to see. Match days, if there's varsity only, mostly for the other players, it would be a practice day, and that could be either Conley's or the range. There's also, it depends on how many kids each team will bring. So as I've started to communicate with the other coaches to kind of see numbers that they have, we can put out maybe 2 alternates after the 5 girls who are going to be the ones who would score for us. We can put 2 alternates afterwards and have them play, knowing that their scores don't really count. Same thing kind of goes for JV. If they have 8 JV girls and we only have 4 or something like that, we can kind of mix and match and feel things out that way. Again, the overall goal is let's play as much as we can. That's my mentality. Again, until that JV schedule is set up, we can't really do much than that. And I feel bad, like I know that stinks for scheduling purposes, for ride purposes. I know that's no fun. We're just kind of stuck at the moment. Rides. Shuttles provided to all practices and match sites. We may need to leave early on practice days because we share with boys JV golf, the shuttle. I did speak with Mrs. Morrow in the athletic office today, push our preference for separate shuttles so that if we do not need to leave early to go to a match, we just have practices, we'd prefer to be in the classroom. We were talking, I have period 11 off, which is really nice. Mr. McNally does not. So like that's no fun as a teacher either, to be missing class if we feel like we really don't have to. Pick up after practice and home matches and away matches on Route 8. So that's Ritzwood, that's even, we can talk about Pittsburgh North. Pittsburgh North is right up the road there. If we end up at Suncrest for one reason or another, all those courses there, are we okay with, even if it's an away match, not shuttling from there back to the school and then you have to pick them up back here at the school? Do we feel like it's okay to say, that I can say kids will be picked up at those courses after away matches too? Do we have any issue with that? My thinking is that would help you to get home faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we could probably figure that out too, that if the only trick would be like the girls who will have cars here.
Yeah. So
They will just need to ride back to this.
That's true.
Whoever. I know we're all in the general area.
I mean,
I'm
if
saying
it's-
2 or 3 parents went,
Right.
and we all carpooled to figure out to get them all back, so all of us.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. If we want, I can send out like a roster. I have my Excel sheet of just roster with kids and parents' email addresses so far. So if you'd like, I can share that out with everybody. I think that
Yeah.
that might be helpful for all of us if we're okay with that. I can do that tonight too. Student drivers. Students can drive themselves to all home matches and practices. But again, I think for even away matches, like if we're in that Route 8 corridor, really the only places that we're going to play outside of there are Fox Chapel, Fox Run, which is out Ambridge, which is out in Beaver County, Blackhawk, which is out in Beaver County, and Connequenessing. I would say those 4, like let's take the shuttle up and back.
Yeah.
But for the other ones, I think we're close enough that we could have everybody drive if that's okay with you. What I would say is just make sure we're communicating. If someone's going to ride back with another kid, we do want to have a note just so that we can make sure that we have peace of mind. Ultimately, we're responsible for your kids, and we take that very seriously. And so that's the only reason that we require some sort of a note or a heads up if there's going to be something different than what we decide. Same thing goes for student drivers. If you're okay with your child riding with somebody else, please give us a note saying that you authorize that. Otherwise, we really can't let that happen. Okay? So what do we provide? We'll provide a golf bag, six match balls. Again, feel free to do with them whatever you want. Greens fees for practices and matches, we take care of those. Range balls for practices at Pine Creek. Home and away polo shirts, we'll take care of a hat or a visor. And then I have listed on my budget, now the budget figure was created before I became coach. So I have grand ideas that sometimes don't always get there. But I think I can at least get us like a quarter zip that would be also something that would be nice that you could wear in school. In addition to those things for every kid. I think that I can squeeze enough money out to make that happen. What is needed or provided by the players? Clubs, tees, balls, glove is optional. You don't have to rock a glove. You can. Spikes or turf shoe sneakers, anything like that I think is appropriate. You can get away with it. So I think everybody here has experienced golfers, but if, for me recording this, if that's the case, if you're like not sure about it, just shoot me a reminder or an email. And I can kind of give you my thoughts. Yeah.
If it's helpful in the budget, the girls who were here as freshmen in sophomore, well, the girls who have been here for 2 years, their first year, they got a black quarter zip.
The
Is there-
pullover, like the windbreaker thing? Yeah, so I found them online. So for anybody else who does not have one of those, the girls told me they really, really like them, especially Pittsburgh Fall. If you're interested in that, I can take care of ordering those and getting them embroidered for you. And again, so for anybody else who's going to watch this video later, I can take care of that. So if you just let me know, and I'll give you a cost. It's a little bit cheaper to go through the coaching site that I have. So I think it was be like 40 after embroidery, somewhere in that range, which is pretty solid for a nice
Do
little
you want us
windbreaker.
all to have, the ones who already have them, do you want fresh ones so they're all exactly the same?
I found the exact same model.
Oh, okay.
I looked up I took a picture of the style number and
Okay.
looked them up, and so I think I can get them
Okay,
all.
thanks.
Yeah. Water and snacks, ball marker, divot fixer. Again, just one more thing I want to go over for all the girls who maybe haven't had a ton of experience playing on course. Match bottoms. So for playing in matches, I just want black. I think that's what we've done previously. Ordering shorts and skirts and pants is going to be a nightmare. So whatever, as long as it's black, no cargo. WPIAL does stipulate no cargo, no jeans. Then we're cool. So whatever you like, that's totally fine by me. Rangefinder. Any rangefinders will work, but they can't have anything more than the GPS to determine distance. They can't factor in elevation, wind, barometric pressure, or anything like that. So I have one on my phone that I use that's a free app.
Get one of those ones that are the box.
The little,
on the side.
yeah, exactly. Free apps, you can actually use your phone. However, that's a dangerous thing when you're dealing with high school kids in terms of what they're actually using that phone for. To just have that one app open and then get a push notification, somebody sent you a Snapchat, it's like, oh, do I click on this? So that can get you into trouble. Practice attire for on the course. Need a collared or polo shirt every day that we're practicing on course. I don't know, what's your opinion? We didn't even talk about this, so sorry to put you on the spot, but range, do you care?
I don't care.
I really don't either, so be comfortable if we're just going out on the range that day. The range is at Pine Creek, and so it's not on course anyway, so I feel like whatever you're comfortable in.
I would say make sure you bring a couple things with you because you don't know about what the weather's going to be once fall hits.
I'm going to tell them the same thing I tell my softball players is you should have extra socks, pair of pants, pair of shorts, shirt, and a hoodie. Just leave it in your locker. Leave it somewhere. Leave it in your car that you have as a just in case. That's my recommendation. But again, on course, no cargo, no jean shorts. Other than that, you know the drill. Okay. So match attire, we want to all look nice and professional. Practice attire, that's you got something floral print you want to rock, absolutely go for it. Brooks Koepka's hat at Augusta with the azaleas on it, and so that looked very nice. I like that. All right, so that's what I have. any lingering questions or thoughts that I can help answer or try to answer or find out an answer for.
The range on Route 8,
Yes.
has anyone reached out to them to,
So,
I know it's not Pine Creek.
right,
But
it's
it's very
owned by
close.
Pittsburgh North, I think. The big deal with there is there's no short game area, and so I want to push practicing putting every time we go out, and so that's kind of my reason for continuing to use Pine Creek. There might be opportunities for us to just use that and get out and hit, but in talking with the girls, in talking with other coaches around, putting and chipping is an enormous need, and so for me, like, we have it there, we can use that to focus in on, so that was my thinking behind it. I think in an earlier version of the manifesto, it said 6 play but 5 score. That was those are the boys, and that's the girls has changed. I think 3 years ago, maybe something like that. So it's 5 and 4. So for girls, 5 young ladies will play, and then from those 5 scores, the 4 best count towards the team score. But again, if we can, we're going to throw 2 alternates on the end every time if possible. I just think it's good practice. Mhm.
Now, once you choose the varsity and JV, is it for the whole year, or
No.
like the worst player gets?
What I'm going to tell them is you can play your way up, and you can, if you're not an alternate to start, you can play your way into matches and out, and that's why I think it's important to practice as one team, so that there's an understanding that we are all trying to get better, and people are going to improve at different rates, and we want to push that improvement, and you reach your zone of proximal development as much as you can. All right, if you think of anything, please let me know. I'll send out this just in case. I'll send out the PowerPoint from tonight and some of these documents. Listen, I think you'll see